I remember when I first found out my dear husband Jim had been murdered. My heart was pounding and my head was spinning. Lord, why have you done this to me? Why did this have to happen? I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to continue, but God had other plans. Who am I? I am Elizabeth Elliott, and this is the story of my life. I was born on December 21st, 1926 in Brussels, Belgium. At the time of my birth, my parents were missionaries in Belgium, but when I was a few months old, we moved to the US. Later, I attended Wheaton College. My studies in classical Greek would later enable me to work in an area of unwritten languages to develop a form of writing. A year after, I went to Ecuador, and Jim Elliott, whom I had met in Wheaton, was also working with the Quiche Indians. Jim was such a handsome man. He was a popular guy on campus, and I was in love with him. But I was just a shy girl, and I knew I would never have a chance with him. And then something amazing happened. He asked me out. I couldn't believe it. We dated for a few months until finally he proposed to me. I was so happy. However, God was calling us both to do missionary work, so we didn't know if God even wanted us to be married, so we postponed the wedding. Later, we ended up working on the same mission, and we knew that God did want us to be married. So, on October 8, 1953, in Quito, Ecuador, we were happily married, and from there, we worked together. Now, Jim had always wanted to meet with an unreached tribe, and the Aucas were in that category, a fierce tribe who no one was able to meet without being killed. After finding out where they were, Jim and the other missionaries entered Auca territory. It took weeks and months of trying to make contact, but Jim was so committed. I knew it was dangerous, but both of our lives were in God's hands. And then, my worst fear came true. Jim and the other missionaries left to see the Aucas, and they told us they would radio us back that afternoon, but the call never came. The waiting was torture. Then we had a pilot fly over the area where Jim and the missionaries were last seen. They had been found. They'd all been speared to death by Auca men. My beloved Jim was later found had not even lifted a hand in his own self-defense. So now, what was I to do? Our daughter Valerie was only 10 months old when Jim was murdered. I was very angered by this, but God told me to go back and to speak with them. Why? I didn't want to. I didn't want to go back to the people who had killed my love, but God told me that I needed to, because the Aucas needed God and his forgiveness desperately. So I listened, trusted, and obeyed God. Then, through remarkable providence, I met 2 Auca women who stayed with me for a year. And then I found out that one of the women who was staying with me had lied to the Auca men about Jim, which had led to his death. I was aggravated at this at first, but God softened my heart, and I was able to forgive her. Then I went and stayed in the Auca village for 2 years. And the Auca men who had killed Jim were able to become Christians, so Jim's death was not in vain. After working with the Auca Indians, I returned to Quiche work until in 1963, Valerie and I returned to the US. Now, my life had been one busy with speaking and writing many different books. It also included, in 1969, a marriage to Addison Leach, who was a professor. However, 5 years later, Addison died to cancer. At that time, we had 2 lodgers in our home. One of them married my daughter, and the other one, Lars Gran, married me. Over the past 40 years, I've been busy with traveling the world, writing many books, and speaking at many Christian conventions. 2 of my most famous books are Shadow of the Almighty, The Life and Testament of Jim Elliott, and Through the Gates of Splendor, which tells of the life and death of my first husband, Jim. In 2005, a documentary based on the story was released and called Beyond the Gates of Splendor. In 2006, an exciting movie was released called End of the Spear. I was so happy that their story was becoming known to the world. I hope I will always be remembered as a strong follower of Christ, and I hope I inspire women everywhere to be strong and brave no matter what the circumstance. For as I've said, because I'm a woman, it does not make me a different Christian. But because I'm a Christian, it does make me a different kind of woman. I am Elizabeth Elliott. Thank you.